This is Pod Populi, podcasts for the people.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Femme Force podcast. My name is Rachel Paskvan, and I am your host. And today I am so excited that I'm going to be able to have a conversation with Dr. Tenia Davis. Now, Dr. Davis is a dynamic HR practitioner, a chief people officer, an author of not one, but two books, and the founder of Leadership Wise. She is also a mother and a self-proclaimed chic geek, which I love. And we're going to be talking today about her experience in servant leadership, generational leadership, and her innovative framework for leadership development. So I'm super excited to have her on. Thank you so much for being here, Dr. Davis.
Thank you for having me.
So can you tell the audience just a little bit about your background and how you got into this profession?
Well, I fell into HR. I was actually started my career as a techie a long time ago. And the organization that I was working for, they were expanding or extending their contract, and they needed an HR team. And so they went in-house versus external for many reasons. Anyway, I was voluntold into the role. And at the time, I was building out databases for a particular project. And so they needed the analytical skills as well as interpersonal. And, I guess I scored well when I joined the organization. So
Uh,
I kind of fell into HR. And I've I've been in HR ever since. I love the complexity of the work and the diversity, whether it's compensation, whether it's benefits, whether it's organizational design, organizational behavior, or whether it's helping organizations scale. There's just so many different dynamics, and HR itself has evolved from personnel to strategic human resources. And I'm always pleasantly surprised to see how this profession is adding tremendous value to organizations.
and that's amazing. And we all need human resources, let's be honest. And like a lot of the guidance that you provide and just, getting through day-to-day job struggles and then, prior job struggles and after the job, all of these things. And you're also a mother. How has that influenced your leadership approach?
Oh, very humbling. So let's just say I get it wrong at home and then get it right at work.
There you go. Text it on the kids. They're fine.
I think it adds a lot of the grounding, right? Especially, if your kids or your listener kids or anything like mine, they have the answers to everything, and you just, boom, you just appeared. You didn't go through life the way they did. I always hear my
No,
kids
you
say,
were born yesterday. You
I
know
was
me.
going exactly. But no, I think it has a lot to do with how I think about different things, approach, and when I look at the different dynamics in the workplace, different generations in the workplace, the complexities that are tied to that, and it also for me, it keeps you human. Balancing work and being a mom is no easy task.
No.
And leaving work, trying to give 150% there, and then also 150, make the game on time, make the play on time, and sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong, and you know the challenges with that. I've been very fortunate to have a very grounded and consistent village around me, and I could not have done half the things without a village. And I always say, being a mom is a gift. You have every opportunity to have a career. You have one opportunity being a parent. Sometimes you don't get a do-over, right?
Yeah.
And so there are just so many challenges with it. So if you're blessed enough to have a village around you to help, usher and support, it makes it that much more enriching. So yes, being a parent has a huge impact on how I see things. Also, I think the wisdom of the village that has been around me has also been very impactful and helpful in this journey.
No, just friends and, chosen aunts and uncles are just, they are the best. Plus, we
Yeah.
get to get them back. So that's always really exciting for me. Like, okay, we're no, diaper, not me.
Right.
Go to your mom, go to your dad. Aunt Rachel's here to watch Frozen and hang out. Like, that's what
Love
Aunt
it.
Rachel can do. She's great at these things.
And we all need that aunt. Let me tell
Right?
you, especially with pickup. I'm stuck in traffic. Oh, I never will forget, and I know my daughter will never forget. I was running late. I was in a meeting, and this is why this is so important. I was in a meeting. I was the only one in that meeting that was a parent, and there was not an appreciation for oh, I need to leave this meeting now. I have to go pick up my daughter. It was actually frowned upon. And by the time the meeting ended and I was in traffic, in tears that I was running late, my daughter was standing outside waiting for me. And that was the worst feeling. And at that time, I said, nothing is worth this. And if I can't be in an environment that appreciates and respects where I am in my life right now, it's just because as employee, I'm no different than other employees. You give so much of your time and dedication to an organization.
Yeah,
And if the organization can't see and respect, the different dynamics that go along with what takes place with employees, it's not worth it. At least I decided at that time. I had, not been in that place like that. And you know, no one wants to see, no one wants to see that, right?
not at all. And I mean, at the end of the day, for them, you're just a number, but to them, you're their mother. So, like,
I
it's
was
more,
little at the time, and I just said, "Oh, this can no." And
no,
like all the storms at one time, I couldn't get a hold of, it's in my village, and I just left the office,
it
and
rains, it pours.
oh my gosh, it was insane. Yeah.
Well, if she remembers, she'll tell you later in life. Those are always fun. I remember when mommy left me at
Oh
school.
yeah, she does.
Remember that time you left me? Like, those will be the good stories. She'll tell complete strangers, and you're like, it was one time, it wasn't that bad.
Right, right. And there's context. There's
Yeah.
context.
I'm like, stop it. It wasn't that bad. Which I loved because kids are just so
Oh
brutally
yeah.
honest and they're just like, but this happened. I'm like, there's a lot more behind it there, but okay. I
I
remember
had
my,
to take that one. I mean, I did. I just said, that was on me.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I remember we took my nephew to California at my aunt's once and he was swimming and he had like the floaties on and everything. So he was fine. He was jumping in, he was jumping out, he was jumping in, whatever. We're all talking. We're right, like we're literally right there, but we're all talking. He took off his floaties and we didn't see, jumped in, and he's in like the shorter end of the pool, literally next to my sister. I'm talking to her. My cousin's talking. Like we're all just talking. He is literally like floundering, and then all of a sudden we're like, "Oh my God!" And so we get him, and he's like, his only, "How is California? I drowned." Anyone and everyone. Did you have fun at Aunt Linda's? I drowned. And I'm like, Dylan, number one, you
I
didn't.
know, right?
Like,
What do you say to that though?
people looked like, and I'm like, that's not what happened. You had a moment.
You have to give it a label. You do have to give it like a label, like, right? So that's
You
half
had an
truth.
incident.
An incident, right? The incident.
Yeah, I'm like, you didn't like stop telling. You wouldn't be able to tell people that if you drown. Calm down. Like, you didn't drown. We saved you. There was no mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. You got a what is it? You got a lollipop or whatever after popsicle. It was like you were happy as a clam. You were fine. We let
That's
you pick
hilarious.
the movie that night because
Oh,
you drowned. You're fine.
I get
But yeah,
it.
the
I
brutal honesty
totally get it.
is my favorite thing in the entire world. So jumping into
It-
something you told me in our meeting was that you like to be referred to as a chic geek. So tell the audience a little about that because I love this term.
Oh, yes. So, I do a lot of volunteer work with younger kids, and there's this whole notion that being nerdy is just like the worst thing, and it's not. And so it was out of a response to conversations with a group of kids, and I wanted to make being a nerd cool. And kids typically are very visual, and these are young girls and that are into fashion. And I said, you can be totally in your diva-ness and still be brilliant,
Mhm.
right? Intelligence is a thing, guys, let me tell you. And so that's where that formed. And I created a little character and everything, and I use it on marketing materials. But I wanted to connect with this group in a way to change the stereotype of being a geek, right? Kids go to school, they want to be recognized, they want to be seen, they want to be
Yeah,
hip, they want to be cool. And, I think intelligence should be part of that conversation,
100%.
right? And that's what that was born out of. And I use it a lot because you can have your heels. I tell the girls, you can have your heels, you can have your flair, your drama, your chicness, and you can have all of that. And you got to know how to add your money up, and
You
you
got to
got
be
to
brilliant. You
bring.
can be brilliant at the same time.
Exactly. And be whatever you want to be. And so that's what that was birthed out of. And one of the things that I stress when I work with a lot of the young teens is that, we need to break down some of these stereotypes of what women can be and cannot
Yeah.
be. And being a nerd is very cool. Some of the coolest people I
Coolest.
know. And you can still have all the flair that comes with it. It's really what you put into it and what you do with it. Most people follow then lead. And so, take all those things with you and be awesome in all of that. And so that's where it came, and it kind of took on a life of its own. And I'm very proud of the chic geek, and I encourage everybody to be a chic geek.
They should be the nerd.
That's
Like,
right.
be chic geek. Do it all. Like,
Bring your own flair to it. Bring your own
you're gonna
flair
be
to
so
it.
much happier when you like have a budding career. And I'm like, and all those kids that were mean to you,
You're their boss.
you're not going, yeah, you're their boss, or they didn't go very far and they peaked. And I'm like, I tell teens this, and I'm like, I know it just seems like I'm just saying things, but I promise you, that's
Yep.
what's gonna happen.
Yes.
You're gonna succeed and they're gonna peak. And like you're gonna let your like freak flag fly and it's gonna be great. I'm like, I love Harry Potter. Everyone knows that about me. Didn't say that like in high school and college because I would have been embarrassed. And now I'm like, hi, proud Slytherin. Like, go to Disney once a year. We do the whole thing. Like, no, I have paraphernalia and merches. There's
Oh
water
yeah.
here. I got
That's
all
right.
things.
And own it,
Yep,
and
own it.
own it. I love that. So yeah, I have been, hammering that. And, if there's one part of my merchandise that I get good, I think it's all good and inspirational, but the geek chic is my favorite.
I love
And
that.
especially with young girls, that's the one thing that I really want to push and encourage. You can be brilliant and you bring your own flair to what that means, right? And reading
1000%.
a book, and it literally started, some of the girls were like hiding their books and hiding their grades because they didn't want to stand out. I'm like, you got straight A's. Like, these are classes in the next level up. I mean, I'm geeking because this is amazing, right? Why aren't you excited about this? And that's another part of it too, is like, we put the emphasis on the wrong things,
Yeah.
and so those are the things that we should be highlighting. Like, wow, you should be very proud of this. And
Thousand
what
percent. I'm a
you
big
see your
proponent
sleep?
for
Really? This
all-girls
is
schools
good.
because of this. Like I feel like I went to an all-girls high school and I tell parents when they're like, I don't know, we live in a good school district. Do we really want to pay for this? And I'm like, you do. You do want to pay for this. I'm like, and let me tell you why. Number one, they're going to go to college and that first year they're going to be like, oh, this is nothing. I'm like, that's an amazing thing. Most kids are drowning. These girls won't be drowning. I'm like, they're also going to raise their hand. And I don't think you guys know how important that is.
Oh,
And like
absolutely.
statistically proven, when you're put with boys, they'll be like, they know the answer, but they will not raise their hand because they don't want to look too smart or too like, or nerdy or embarrass themselves or any of the above. And when you're just with a bunch of girls, they're raising their hand, they're having debates about things, and they learn how to form an opinion and give it in an empathetic way. I'm like, that's why you want to send your daughter here. Like, because that's what she's going to learn. And that will literally follow her through life, where she's not afraid to give her opinion. She will do it in board meetings. She will do it in executive meetings. She's not going to have an issue talking to authority, like in a polite, obviously, work conductive way. Like, she's not telling them all to screw off, but like she knows how to conduct herself because she can have an opinion and she knows like how to find the backing for it and like do the research and take,
And they will know how to support other women.
yeah.
Right?
And I'm
That's the
like,
one thing.
this is why you want to send them here. I'm like, this is literally statistically proven. Like,
Absolutely.
yes,
Yep.
some girls will thrive at
Yeah.
co-ed schools, but the majority are not. Like, the majority won't because they're afraid to be too smart or like in too many activities or like, be a brown noser and everything else that they're labeled.
I know how to play with each other. Yeah. And supporting women, I think is one of the most powerful thing to.
1000%.
Yeah.
1000%.
Yep.
And speaking of that, I want to dive into your servant leadership philosophy. So, can you define what it is and how it's significant, like in today's corporate world?
Oh, so literally that came out of my research for my dissertation. And I was very curious about how do servant-led organizations, one, distill that learning and training within their organization, and do those leaders that learn that style of leadership, do they carry that on to other organizations? Because what I saw with servant leadership, actually Tim Bennett, who really modeled that behavior, and where I really learned a lot about servant leadership without it being called servant leadership, right? Um, but what I was most intrigued about was that they were able to lead very diverse teams, able to really understand the nuances and complexities of the teams that they were leading and able to get the best productivity out of them, as well as invest in their learning and development as a team. And these sort of leaders, if you say, give me the rundown of the 14 people on your team, they were able to really give you in-depth understanding of what drives these individuals as individuals, and collectively, how do I get the best out of them?
Yeah.
So, I was just curious, how does one hone in on being a servant leader? And a lot of being a servant leader is being selfless, leading a team without what's in it for me, but more so what's in it for the people that I'm responsible for as a leader, really understanding their needs, making sure they have the right learning and development opportunities across the board, not because I like
Yeah.
Paul, I like Michael, but because I care about the entire team holistically. And so I think that's what I've seen in servant leaders that are consistently, deemed as a good leader.
And if someone wants to bring in a style of servant leadership into their organization, how can they magnify the principles of it, like in their own organizations?
Yeah, I would say just start with the basics. And the basics, understand the dynamics of your team. Really get to know your team and have an appreciation. Because a lot of it is, if I take the time to get to know you and really understand what your drivers are and how you're looking at success and productivity, and I help you get there, I'm making the investment in you, taking the time to get to know you. And those are just very basic leadership skills, right? But what I found throughout my career is that, oftentimes, and not all the time, of course, but often leaders don't want to take that sort of, and they don't want to make that sort of investment or take the time to
Yeah.
really get to know the people within their group. So they're making decisions, they're giving direction and not really connecting in a way that is authentic, and also mindful for the group that they're leading.
Well, and when you're doing it, that way, I feel like it has to be not just so meaningful for you, but meaningful for others that can learn from you
Absolutely.
and understand the style and possibly implement it on their own and continue it.
Yeah, and help everyone thrive in their superpower. Listen, I think everybody has a superpower. And so, but I also, in all seriousness, believe that, being a leader is a gift.
Yeah,
It comes with responsibilities and accountability.
a
And
thousand percent.
the leaders that, or at least the leaders that I deem to be, you know, really successful at being a leader are those that truly look at holistically the group that they lead, but also take the responsibility to develop to make sure that everyone has opportunity across the team, not the ones that just, maybe go to the ballpark with me, but also tap into what makes people thrive and grow, develop, and help everyone, operate in their best capacity in whatever superpower they bring to the table. You then are able to build stronger teams, and there's a lot of science behind that.
That's amazing. And you don't just talk about this style of leadership, but you also talk about generational leadership. And what is the difference between that?
Yeah, so generationally, so you could be leading me,
Mhm.
right? I'm learning from you. I take those same behaviors to the team that I lead, and then those members take what they learn and it carries on, right? So think about bad behaviors. We all learn the bad behaviors and we learn them fast and furious, right? And we take them wherever we go. The good behaviors, because they're not always highlighted or showcased, people don't move as fast. But you see the evidence of it. You see the remnants of it, right? From a good leader, whether it's the listening skills, having empathy, making sure everyone has opportunities to learn and grow, really understanding what it is that the team does well individually and collectively, right?
Mhm.
So those individuals carry on those characteristics, and then they're able to build strong teams.
Yeah.
The individuals from them build strong teams. You now have a legacy of sound leadership that is sustainable, right? So the other side of it is not sustainable.
Mhm.
You know, however, in some organizations, it's highly recognized, right?
Okay.
However, it's not sustainable. At least I have not seen it to be sustainable.
And you created a feedback blueprint as a tool for effective communication and growth along this. Can you talk about that?
So this is interesting. So one of the things that I've seen throughout my career, I have not been in one organization or work with leaders. Everybody hates giving feedback or they hate hearing
Not
it.
fun.
And I think performance reviews is probably the number one thing, no matter what company you work for, what industry. I have not met an organization that loves performance reviews. And so I took all these different experiences around communication and feedback and kind of honed in on there's a process, constructive insights, and I've expanded the model because what I found is that you can have a process to giving feedback. There must be a process for hearing feedback, and then there also must be a process for how people are aware. And you can go through whatever framework you want. If a person doesn't have self-awareness or
Mhm.
reflection, they really don't learn what you're putting in front of them. And so um, I use that framework with the expansion of adding self-awareness and reflection because what I found is that leaders that were able to grow faster and respond to the organization had an air of reflection and self-awareness, right? And
Exactly.
why that is so important. So in the feedback book, I tried to make it really, I literally took it as if I was having a conversation with you because I didn't want it to be something where someone would have to read and get to page 50 and say, "Oh, is that what I'm supposed to do?" I wanted I wanted them to be able to pick it up and chapter by chapter wherever they feel they needed the most information,
Yeah.
they could take it, use it right away and have a framework and have examples to apply it. And that's how I wrote the book. So I wrote it in chapters so that they can just pick it up from wherever because they might not need chapter 1 through 5. They might just need chapter 3.
Yeah.
However, they will be able to pick it up and
And
say,
just
okay,
start where they need. Yeah.
start where I need. Here are the tools. Oh, and here's an example of it. Got it. Right. Because that's really what leaders want. And
Yeah.
I don't they
Something
want
simple.
something so exhaustive that they're like, oh, what do I need to do to, because that's not fun, right? And
No.
we've all read those self-help business books, right? And they're great. They're great. However, that wasn't my intention with this book. I wanted something that leaders could take and run with it and have the tools to apply in the
That's
moment.
awesome though. But like, and it's so needed because feedback, I mean, it's a gift, air quotes there. But it's hard.
It
It's
is
hard to
hard.
get it. It's hard to receive it. It's then hard to process it, then implement it, or even know if you should implement the feedback. And I mean, it's difficult. And I think a lot of companies, the way that they do performance reviews are not actually conducive to how the employee is performing. Like it ends up being like a political thing or a popularity contest. Like if this is how you're like calibrating people, and it's just, it doesn't work out well when you're like half the time the people that are calibrating you, you're like, you don't even know what I do.
Right.
Like
And
how,
I used to hear that a lot as well. Or there were decisions made on, how to reorg a department, right? Or it was, well, I like this person. So I like this person. Okay, well, if we're hiring based on personality, I mean, so it really, and that also sends a very strong signal to the organization. It actually, what I've witnessed, it creates a little dysfunction because the the beat of the organization is then built on politics versus actual skill and work, right? And so people tend to play to the politics more so than actually doing the work itself. Um, so yeah, it's fascinating. You do want to have good camaraderie. Yes, you do want to have good teaming and work in a positive work environment. However, um, it's not high school, so it shouldn't be shouldn't be about the who's the most popular type of thing, but more so, and I think this is where, go back to servant leadership, where I've seen really good leaders have the ability to take people where they are and build from there, right? And that doesn't have anything to do with it's what do we need to accomplish in the organization? What is it that we're trying to do to move business forward? And who has the skill set to get there? Or who can I further develop, to do the next level of work? And leaders that I've seen do this artfully, they're not focused in on the likability, they're focused in on the capabilities. And there's a big difference between likability and capability,
Very
right?
much.
And a lot of times you can build in some of the likability when you see that people can deliver. And so, again, it has a lot to do with the company culture. It has a lot to do with the different leadership styles. Um, but I get most excited, seeing where people are and then seeing where they go. And I think that is most exciting to me when you've really helped someone develop and grow, especially maybe where they didn't see what you saw, and you were able to help them reach not only potential, but also, extend the capacity and contribute even more to the organization. I think that is exciting.
That is. And I mean, it just makes such a difference, not only for the organization, but for yourself and being able to move forward like that. And I think that's so inspiring. You also talked to me, and I'm going to mispronounce this because I have practiced and it's not going to work, but cultural perspicacity. Cosity.
Perspicacity, yes. You
Perspicacity. Someone else
got
was saying that is not an easy word to talk
it.
about, let alone say. But you have talked about that and how it's leading with empathy and understanding. So, number one, where did this word come from? And how does it play a role in leadership?
So that was interesting. When I was kind of moving through the whole phases of my research, when I interviewed so many leaders, and what I found interesting in some of these leaders, the servant leaders, was that their servant leadership has, cultural awareness as one of its um, attributes. And I saw something a little bit deeper than that, because cultural awareness is saying, yeah, I know, what was being described for those that were using it was more of a check the box.
Yeah.
So I said, this word doesn't really apply to what I'm seeing with this other group. This other group, I was trying to find the word that described their actions, and it was more than awareness. The cultural awareness used with servant leadership and the folks that I interviewed, it was having knowledge of, knowing about. But what I saw in this other group was way deeper than that. It was taking an extreme interest and ownership almost around having knowledge of, well, who is Rachel? And Rachel, what are your drivers? And what is your background? You know, I would like to learn a little bit more about that. Okay, so that's part of what makes you tick. And that made them have a little bit more of a leadership skill and respect from the team that they were leading. And so the word where I landed, perspicacity, just happened to have a deeper meaning around awareness. And that's where I developed that term for this particular group, because what I found is that they were having more success as a leader, and to some degree, they were also deepening the meaning of servant leadership around the aspects of how they were engaging with their team around the cultural piece. So that's where it came from, and I had fun with it ever since. But um, I think it's interesting when you think about where you've had success the most as a leader, or that leader that you just really respected because they really took the time to understand and mentor you through your development. It creates something different inside of you to want to do more and be more,
Yeah.
right? That's a different leader. And so the perspicacity aspect of it that I was seeing in this particular group, that is what they were producing out of their folks based on their interplay and their connections that they were making.
I mean, and that's amazing. And do you think that, I mean, right now in the stage of the world and the stage of a lot of companies that are getting rid of DEI, this needs to be something they need to be focusing on, like leading with the empathy and leading with grace and
Absolutely.
understanding.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now more than ever, you know, when you walk into a room, no one wants to be that, singling out someone because they have red, purple, or green hair. No one wants to be singled out without understanding their fullest capabilities first, you know. Um, I think we have the opportunity in this time to really show that we can do and be all the things we say we are. And it starts with one conversation, another conversation, another we are more alike than we are different.
Thousand
There are
percent.
differences, yes, and those should be expected and respected, um, and that's what makes, I think as someone would say, gumbo. I have a friend that would say, it's just a big pot of gumbo. We're all different ingredients. You put us together and we do some good stuff. But I think so many factors get in the way, and we live in a very polarized state now.
Yeah.
And I do worry that we miss the opportunity to really shine on the stage that is meant for all of us.
A
Not
thousand percent. And I mean, as we're wrapping up, I want to talk about your books
some.
and leadership wise. So pump it here. Where did the books come from? What are they about? And what is leadership wise? And what have you been doing with that?
So leadership wise it's really wisdom in leadership, right? And so I kind of wanted to just have like my website. I wanted to have a place where people could go and get meaningful information. So it literally started with a blog, and then how you have
Oh,
those
geez,
friends.
now.
What do you have a blog for? You need to tell me about yourself. No, you need to do this. And I thought, well, all I want to do was a blog, you know? And so it kind of morphed from a blog, and it kind of took on a life of its own. And because it was just a blog, and it was just Tania. And my friends were like, of course, marketing friends, they were like, I don't even know what that means. I don't know who you are. And you need to tell people who you are. And so I said, okay, I will make this more professional. So I wanted it to have meaning in all seriousness. Leadership wise is basically having wisdom in leadership. And I think there is wisdom in leadership. Um, the blog itself, I wanted a place where people could just go and get quick information. As leaders, we're typically moving so fast, the consumption of information is in different formats. And I wanted something where a leader could pick up, okay, 12 tips, I got it, and not have to, again, read through a mountain of information. So that's what the blog is for. The merchandise kind of fell out of that because my books are there. And the merchandise really started with journal. I love to journal. I kind of wear these dual hats. I'm academic, I'm a HR practitioner. I do have a day job. And then, I love to journal and I love books. I love reading. And so I wanted to take the love of reading and affirmations into one place. And so that's what I poured into my products. And so there's journals and there's backpacks and things like that, book bags and a tote bag. And so there's just different things that we would use every day, but with meaningful wording on it. I think words have power, and I wanted my words to have power of positivity and if possible, make someone's day. Someone asked me, well, what do you want people to think or feel when they pick up your product? I said, I want them to smile. And so that was the intention behind it. And I tried to, cover all gamuts of women of who we are, and whether it's a Latina, African American, or someone with red hair, someone with black hair, brown hair. I think we're beautiful in whatever form we're in, and so I tried to capture that as well. And of course, my chic nerd is in front and center of all of it. And also, I wanted something that just made sense and that, would prompt positivity. So and just the website just kind of morphed around there.
Yeah.
So I post, something that at least I hope is helpful. The blog, I post every day on the blog. And the intention is that people can just consume it, take it, and use it, or send it to someone else that might be able to use it. And the products, there's especially the journals, I hope uplift someone's day.
No, and I love that. And I think it's so poignant to going what's on, and like love that it's morphing into so many different things. That's phenomenal.
Thank you.
Like super inspiring. So, as we wrap up, I have one final question I ask all of my guests. But if you could give one piece of advice to your 16-year-old self, what would that be?
Don't take yourself so serious.
Okay.
Live in the moment, understand the day for what it is, and do your best.
I mean, we need to take that now, that advice now. But yeah, that's phenomenal. We do. We take ourselves way too seriously, especially at that age.
Yeah.
Everything's a crisis. Everything's the end of the
Oh,
world.
I was that
No one
kid.
can be right. Yep. No one's right. They can't understand.
I don't understand me.
How can you know? Roll eye, heavy sigh, you're ruining my life.
Right,
Like all
right.
these things that I love. I'm like, I sometimes still do that.
It's okay.
We're all living in our dreams here. It's great. But
Right.
I love that. So thank you so much for coming on. This was such an insightful conversation. We're going to have people make sure to check out the website and Instagram and all of that, and check out the books, Blueprint, and all the Chic Geek merch you can get your hands on, because I know I'm going to. So it's going to be great. Thank you so much, Dr. Davis. I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.